Hello everyone, this will be like a quick Kalista tips and tricks guide, and I'm gonna try and make this friendly to as many newer players as possible. It'll be for every skill level. I'll be going from easy skills to difficult skills and some bonus stuff which are pretty much irrelevant, but it's good to know anyways. So anything that isn't mentioned in the tooltips, for example, your E refunding cooldown and mana after killing, and like Q sack, like transferring stacks, your boots, increasing your jump distance, anything that's mentioned in your ability here, I will not mention. But anything that isn't mentioned, like jumping over walls and stuff, I will talk about. So first of all, yeah, jumping over walls. So if you don't know, Kalista's jumps can jump over walls. So like that. And I can jump back as well. It doesn't have to be with the Q as well, but Q is easier because Q jump is a little bit bigger. And you can do pretty much any wall that's about this thick. The most important ones that you want to mention are the ones at Drake and Baron. So Baron buff, you can Q over this part of the wall right here. Yeah, that's interesting. So sometimes the Baron pit is really thick and doesn't want to work, but usually it's not that thick. But you can generally jump over this part of the Baron wall. But sometimes, depending on what the Baron buff is, because there are 3 different Barons, it'll mess up the wall here and make it too thick. So that was a bit of a dumb demonstration, but generally you can go over that wall, especially if it's not, like, Baron spawned yet. This wall is also pretty easy. You can just go over like this. I don't know why there's 2 Drakes. Because I was testing some stuff out, right? Okay, those 2 walls are probably the most important that you should know. You can jump over this wall here, you can jump over this wall, you can jump over this wall here. But yeah, that's just good bits of information to know. And yeah, next I want to mention the most important thing you're going to have to do consistently every single time if you don't do it already, and that is using Rend in the middle of your jump. So if I'm just jumping normally and I use Rend after my jump ends, it takes a while to get back into attack animation. If I do it in the middle of my jump, there's almost no downtime. The issue is that this downtime is this cancel is less and less useful as you get more attack speed because, okay, not really, but like, generally speaking, your jumps become so fast later on that if you don't do the jump cancel, it doesn't even matter. But it's a good skill to know regardless, and you should do it by default anyways. Next, I want to mention how attack speed slows and movement speed slows affect your jump. So I'm gonna get a bit more attack speed to demonstrate this a bit better. Let's say I'm at like 3 items, this, and this, pretty standard items. And this target here has a frozen heart. Let's buy a frozen heart just to demonstrate that, and I'll make him copy my items, which is right here. So now this guy has frozen heart, and let's put another dummy here that doesn't have frozen heart. So this is how it is to kite against the guy with frozen heart. If I stand still, I'm attacking a little bit faster. So you should definitely do that if your attack speed slowed. This guy without a frozen heart. Okay, this guy has a frozen heart actually. Never mind. Okay. And without a frozen heart, you can see it's significantly faster. And if I'm attacking sitting still, it's a little bit faster as well. Another cool trick to know, and movement speed slows as well will change your jump speed. So if I were to go to the Drake, where I spawned 2 Cloud Drakes, it was supposed to be 1, but it doesn't really matter. You'll see if I jump, it's quite a bit slower now. So slows also affect your jump speed. In these cases, if you just sit still, you attack at the same speed as you would if you weren't jumping. Sorry, as you were, like, not slow, I should say, not jumping. Those are, like, the most important easy tips you should know as any Kalista player. These are, like, the, I guess, Kalista 101 stuff. Next, some of the more higher tech stuff. I'd like to mention your E range, your E max range. Yes, your E has a range. So this is about your max range. If I put a ward down here, attack, right-click the ward, and press E. A little more, actually. There. More like here. Yeah. Right click this ward. E. I'm just barely in range. But your range is actually significantly bigger than that. Let's put a minion over champion over here. Clearly out of my E range. Clearly out of my E range. It's in my Q range though. Go back here. It reaches, even though it's very much out of my E range. That's another trick. Your Q max range is basically your Rend max range. So this one's also in range, actually. This one is not in range. If I try to Q it, you'll see it doesn't go. This one reaches. Yeah, and if I try to put the stack there, now it reaches, but if I go back here, my E doesn't reach. So your Q max range is actually your E range, even though your E's first target has to be in this range. The reason why this is very important is if you're chasing an enemy and they're running away, if you can attack a minion or monster or some other champion on the way, you can potentially reach them and save a flash, save a jump into the enemy, which would be better off jumping away from the enemy instead. So there are a lot of things you can do with that fact. Next, I'd like to mention your jump distance. So your jump is actually not the same distance on all directions. So if I jump backwards, that's about the speed. I'll press S after so I can see what the distance is. So from here, it's about there. But if I jump sideways, for example, let's say like this, it's about the same. But if I jump towards him, it's pretty small, the jump distance. So generally speaking, jumping towards an enemy is a very short jump, while jumping backwards or sideways is generally better. So you can like chase someone like this instead of chasing someone like this. It makes you much more unpredictable because you can jump like twice towards one direction and then towards them and back and sideways and so on and so forth, while covering almost the exact same distance. A good general rule is, as Kalista in mid to late game fights, you should jump more sideways than towards the enemy to avoid being hit. Next, I'd like to talk about some of the harder tricks. So this is probably the hardest trick you can ever learn on Kalista, and this involves Q animation cancelling. So this is something I learned very recently, and I didn't know about this until very recently, but it's a very, very useful trick. So essentially, how it works is, normally, if you try to do a Q in the middle of your jump, let's say I Q right after my jump, it comes out very late. That's how long it takes. I'm pressing it as soon as I jump, but it takes forever to come out. But if you do an animation cancel, like this, like that, it'll come out much faster. So why is that? So what I'm doing is, I'm essentially doing a jump, and then clicking again to issue a movement command, similar to like how Riven's Q animation cancel goes. So you right click, attack, right click, and right click again in a different direction, like this. Right, I didn't do it right, but like that. Like that. And then if you do it right, it'll stop attacking the enemy. And then after you do that right click, you immediately press Q and right click towards the direction you want to go. Let's say I want to Q here after I do the jump. I can do it like jump, right click Q, then I'd mess it up, but it's like that. So it's significantly faster than doing it like that. There's a very clear difference, but like it's quite a bit quite difficult to do. But it's a good skill you should learn because it essentially weaves in a Q when otherwise you would have weaved in an auto attack instead. Without just not jumping, without this animation cancel, you cannot weave in a Q while you're jumping. So this is the only way to do it. But it's a good skill to learn. Next, I'd like to talk about drifting as Kalista. So drifting is essentially when you cancel your jump animation with another attack. And for this, you need max attack speed. There's just no other way to do it. You need maximum attack speed. So I'll just build as much attack speed as I can and show you what I mean. So if you do it properly, it looks a bit like this, if I can do it right. Like that. Like that. So it's very difficult to do consistently. It completely messes up if you get slowed because it relies completely on right-clicking the exact moment your next attack starts. It's like very like frame perfect. I don't know exactly the timing of it, but you have to click essentially at exactly 3 clicks per second, or it's not gonna work. Like that. So again, this is a very inconsistent skill, but if you do it well, it could be pretty useful. But I generally don't think you should spend time learning this because it's pretty difficult, and plus, it's a goofy build. You could realistically do it with just this and Terminus. And if you just have like a Bloodthirster instead, with Beetle Tempo and Rage Blade, you will get up to 3 attack speed. Like that. And you can drift. So yeah, that's most of the really difficult skills I'd like to mention. One more thing I'll mention in the hard section, because I think this is something you don't think of actively when you're playing Kalista for the first time, but it's pretty useful later on, is ability maxing. Now I can't really show this in the video right now, but just take my word for it. Your Q at level 2 in the laning phase with no items is capable of filling caster minions with just an auto Q. And because your Q hits multiple targets if it kills, as it's mentioned here. If this kills the target, the spear continues onward, then it'll kill the other minion. So you just attack each caster once with a level 2 Q, you Q it through, and you just cleared the entire minion wave for just 55 mana. It's 55, right? Sorry, 65 mana. And similarly, so what you'll do is you'll go E, Q, Q at level 3, and then you'll max E twice, Alt, E, Q, E. So you will not put any points in W because this will let you at level 10 put another point in Q, which brings you to level 4. And level 4 is another good power spike for Kalista because it makes her proper items. So Blade of the Ruined King plus a pickaxe, or sometimes not even including a pickaxe, depending on the drakes, the state of the game, all that stuff. It can let you one-shot cast your minions. And that's a very good skill because you don't build Runaan's Hurricane anymore, and I'll show you why that's the case very soon. So you essentially just get free minion wave clear if you put 4 points in Q by level 10. And then level 11 you take Alt, level 12 you take W, and then level 13 onwards everything is the same as regular Kalista. So you may not like not putting a point in W, but if you have a support who can't proc your W very well, then it's a great idea. If you have an enchanter support, I would recommend putting a point in W because most of them get some benefit from attacking usually, and they are usually capable of attacking and getting in range. But tank supports, you could. Mate supports, not really. And yeah, lastly, the Runaan's Hurricane bug. So let me show you what it's all about. I'll just buy Runaan's Hurricane to make it a bit easier to prove. And I'm going to put 3 targets here to show you what I mean. So, if I attack normally, as you can see, Runaan's Hurricane procs is fine. If I jump backwards, where did it go? Where did all my stacks go? Where's all my Runaan's Hurricane procs? They don't work. If we jump sideways, only works towards the side you jumped. Sometimes it works on both of them, but generally only with the side you jumped on. If you jump forward, it works just fine. So generally speaking, if you have Runaan's Hurricane, you're forbidden from jumping backwards because it's not gonna work. The item just doesn't work. So that's the reason why people don't usually buy Runaan's Hurricane on Kalista anymore. It's not that it's a bad item, it just doesn't work. So I guess that's a nice little bonus fact you should know. And one last thing which could be useful, you can use your recall to cancel your Rend animation. So let's say I'm gonna pushing a wave here and I'm gonna recall as fast as possible, go into a bush, B recall. Sorry, E recall. And you see, it goes through. I can do it quite late too. Like here. That's like almost a whole second saved on recalling, because if I were to do E, this, go into a bush, E, and then recall, that's pretty much as fast as I can get it. I'll spam recall, and that's as fast as I can get it. So it's a very niche trick, but it takes no skill to learn. So it's useful to know. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to mention. I'm in the process of moving. I can't do much streaming or videos until all of that's done, so this is a quick video I want to throw in so you guys can at least get some content while I'm busy doing my own stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!